Hi guys, it's Minx here. Hope you're doing well. Just another video, really. First of all, before I begin this, I want to thank everyone who supported me on GameWisp the last few days. A huge number of you signed up for my GameWisp. It's like Patreon, by the way. And thank you for your support there. With support like that, I can keep doing YouTube and have to worry less about the bollocks that's affecting my channel at the moment and deliver content that isn't really censored to you guys. So I really do appreciate that a lot. It really means a lot, and thank you very much for your support there. I hope you guys enjoy your rewards for the month. If you want to support me too, link is in the description by Support Me. Check it out. It really does help a ton, and if you enjoy my stuff, like me cursing like a sailor and stuff like that, it does go a long way to help out. Anyway, let's look at something I want to talk about here. So just after I made my video the other day, my goodbye YouTube video, my clickbait title video, regardless a little bit, I would say, my video about YouTube's problems, they did release a statement detailing more in-depth advertiser-friendly guidelines. They've put their advertiser-friendly guidelines in a lot more depth than they previously had to specify certain types of things. And I don't really know how, but I feel they've made things even less clear than they already were in some instances. Some of this makes sense, but a lot of this is really fucking confusing. So we're going to look at this together as a family and see what YouTube's policies are at the moment, if we can make sense of them. Controversial issues and sensitive events is the first one. So video content that features or focuses on sensitive topics or events including, but not limited to, war, political conflicts, terrorism or extremism, death and tragedies, sexual abuse, even if graphic imagery is not shown, is generally not eligible for ads. For example, videos about recent tragedies, even if presented for news or documentary purposes, may not be eligible for advertising given the subject matter. I understand not wanting to show, like, dead kids and shit on YouTube. I understand, obviously, not showing sexual abuse and things like that. That's totally reasonable, and I understand why that isn't advertiser-friendly. But news in itself is funded by advertisements. Most major news networks are funded by advertisements, and advertisers do not shit themselves over the fact they're talking about something that could be considered controversial or politics. Even just general politics, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Like, my favourite medium to watch on YouTube myself, I like watching religion and political debate channels. They're my favourite things to watch. And these channels are getting fucked because of things like this. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I feel you should be able to talk about news and current events and have it monetized, because that's what the news does. Regardless, though, let's move on to drugs and dangerous products or substances, video content that promotes or features the sale, use or abuse of illegal drugs, regulated drugs or substances, or other dangerous products is not eligible for advertising. Videos discussing drugs or dangerous substances for educational, documentary, and artistic purposes are generally eligible for advertising, as long as the drug or substance abuse is not graphic or glorified. For the most part, I get that. Obviously, a lot of advertisers aren't going to want to be associated with drug use, yada yada. I mean, I actually myself have no problem with people making videos on you know, with them sharing drug use and things like that, but whatever. Like, I understand why advertisers would be upset about that. Moving on. Harmful or dangerous acts. Video content that promotes harmful or dangerous acts that result in serious physical, emotional, or psychological injury is not eligible for advertising. Some examples include videos depicting painful or invasive surgical or cosmetic procedures, or pranks involving sexual harassment or humiliation. I can understand the sexual harassment or humiliation one, although I do sometimes wonder if people get a little too easily upset on the internet by things. I mean, I get death threats and shit daily because I run a big YouTube channel. It doesn't bother me at all. Like, it's like water off a duck's back when someone calls me names on the internet. It doesn't affect me whatsoever. But when it comes to invasive surgical or cosmetic procedures, again, surely this could be seen as an educational thing, you know what I mean? I don't see why advertisers would have a problem with having their adverts on a video that perhaps depicts life-saving surgery for documentary-type purposes, or something like that. I don't get that. Again, it's something you see on normal television all the time. I don't think it's that big a deal, and I don't know why YouTube have deemed it as such. Hateful content. Video content that promotes discrimination or disparages or humiliates an individual or group of people on the basis of the individual or group's race, ethnicity or ethnic origin, nationality, religion, disability, age, veteran status, sexual orientation, gender identity, or other characteristics that are associated with systematic discrimination or marginalization is not eligible for advertising. Content that is satire or comedy may be exempt, however, simply stating your comedic intent is not sufficient and content may still not be eligible for advertising. I feel this is directly aimed at commentary channels and maybe even Leafy in particular. I know Leafy isn't really relevant anymore, but, you know, lol memes. I feel this is aimed at that type of channel for the most part. I think, to a certain degree, this is unfair. I think there is certainly a line that is sometimes crossed by some commentary channels, but I quite enjoy watching commentary channels. I quite like watching Elvis the Alien, Pyrocynical, people like that. I quite enjoy watching. I find them entertaining. And for the most part, I don't think they go too far in terms of, like, insulting someone or laughing at the comedy within a terrible YouTube video, for example. I think that's okay, and I do worry how easily labeled hateful content will be. I obviously understand, like, the hate speech potentially, like, obviously being racist, sexist, you know, homophobic or whatever in a video. I understand why advertisers would not want to associate with that. But I do question whether comedy will be stifled here to a certain extent, and I do worry about censorship for a certain degree. The next one is the big one for me, inappropriate language. Video content that contains frequent use of strong profanity or vulgarity throughout the video may not be eligible for advertising. Occasional use of profanity won't necessarily result in your video being ineligible for advertising, but context matters. So, what does this even mean? Like, what context? Am I allowed to say fuck when I get killed in a video game, but if I say fuck off to somebody in a video game, is that bad? Like, is that the context? Like, what is the context? It doesn't say, it just says context context does matter, so why don't you give us some actual fucking context, YouTube? Because in that statement there is no context. There is none. I like swearing, and I'm not willing to water down the way I talk normally. This is how I talk in real life. I'm not willing to water down the way I communicate as a person to, you know, upset people. And I think it's ridiculous that this is something that's labeled not advertiser friendly. Every cable network in the world is funded by ads, and all of them have a ton of bad language and a ton of violence and a ton of all these things that YouTube seem worried about here. I understand, like, maybe like a kid's brand, like, I don't know, like a kid's toy, obviously not wanting cursing on a video. I understand that. I don't think that's that unreasonable. But for the most part, any company that's marketing to adults knows that swearing is a common part. If swearing isn't in the video, if swearing isn't in the commercial, then what's the big deal? You know what I mean? I don't understand this. I feel this is, to a certain degree, the most open for, like, censoring people, and I don't like it at all. The next one is inappropriate use of family entertainment characters. Videos depicting family entertainment characters or content, whether animated or live action, engaged in violent, sexual, vile, or otherwise inappropriate behaviour, even if done for comedic or satirical purposes, are not eligible for advertising. Now, I know this is aimed at, like, the weird toy channels, like Pregnant Elsa and things like that. I understand that, and I understand this. This obviously affects my stuff, like Shit Games for Girls and whatever. That it does affect that, and I'm still going to be making them when I see something worthwhile making, although for the most part I feel like I've milked that series quite a lot. There isn't a huge amount of things left to cover unless something really unusual comes out. But I don't get why comedy and parody and satire are being censored here. I think they're dangerous things to not allow people to make money from. I think those things are good things. I think comedy and satire and stuff in particular are stuff that should be encouraged in terms of created outlet, and this is stifling it, and I don't really agree with that. Incendiary and demeaning. I said that incredibly. Incendiary and demeaning. Video content that's gratuitously incendiary, inflammatory, or demeaning may not be eligible for advertising. For example, video content that shames or insults an individual or group may not be eligible for advertising. I mean, for the most part, I feel that makes sense. Again, there is a line where comedy should still be given exemption, in my opinion, but it does seem they take that into account with the wording there. I guess that's okay. I guess I have no problem with that one. Sexually suggestive content. Video content that features highly sexualized content, such as video content where the focal point is nudity, body parts, or sexual simulations, is not eligible for advertising. Content that features sex toys, sexual devices, or explicit conversations about sex may not also be eligible for advertising, with limited exceptions for non-graphic sexual education videos. Again, cable networks, ton of nudity, funded for by ads. I don't get it. I mean, I understand porn being not advertiser friendly. I understand various, like maybe like extremely graphic content not being okay. I do get that, but you look at things like, I don't know, HBO for example, and the type of content they make sometimes, they have ads, you know, and I feel that this again is just a step too far in the most part. Like the wording here, I feel that. Yeah, I mean, I by the way, for the record, I'm still going to continue with my Minx Thirst series. I've got a bunch of visual novels I'm going to play, and I'm going to censor. Probably won't get ads on them, but I'm going to play them anyway, because, you know, fuck YouTube. So, that's the situation, you know. Next one, and the final one, is violence. Video content where the focal point is on blood, violence, or injury when presented without additional context is not eligible for advertising. Violence in the normal course of video game gameplay is generally acceptable for advertising, but montages where gratuitous violence is the focal point is not. If you're not showing violent content in news, educational, artistic, or documentary context, the additional context is important. Now, this obviously is another one that hits home to me. This is like one that affects my channel deeply. It's the reason I suspect that ads just aren't running on my Friday the 13th videos for the most part. I think they are running for some of you, by the way, but a very small minority of you. And I feel this is the reason why. I guess it's a focal point. I would argue that comedy is the focal point, but YouTube doesn't seem, throughout any of these, to take into account any sort of like context for comedy. They talk a lot about context, but they don't really provide any. I do wonder if this is like going to be pushing gaming off YouTube levels, because most video games have violence, and it does say there that video game violence is okay. It does say that, but I do question on how YouTube is going to police this. And I wonder if certain games are going to be demonetized while others are monetized, which will actually, in the long run, hurt game developers as well. Let's say, just an example, I'm not saying this is happening, it's just an example. Let's say Friday the 13th stuff is demonetized on a regular basis, which stops a lot of content creators putting the time into making content for that game that they normally would. But let's say Dead by Daylight isn't monetized. Is monetized. Dead by Daylight is monetized, so people make more Dead by Daylight videos, which increases the prevalence of Dead by Daylight on YouTube, which means the game sells better than Friday the 13th. I know this is just a random example, but that is a situation that could arise because of YouTube favoring certain games perhaps over others in its weird-ass algorithm that nobody except YouTube understands. That is a serious problem. That is something that could stretch to plenty of other genres and plenty of other types of gameplay as well. It is a serious problem, and it's not okay. It could, inevitably, in the end, this could harm like small indie developers and stuff. I'm not just thinking about YouTubers here. This could harm a whole subset of industry because of the way YouTube is approaching this, and it's not okay. And it makes me pretty mad actually to see that. Anyway, what am I going to do? I made my video the other day talking about it, and had overwhelmingly most of you were really supportive. Obviously, there were a few comments like "get a real job" and shit like that. I get it. Like, you know, people don't really understand the amount of time and effort that goes into making content on YouTube and stuff like that. I get it. Like, whatever. Like, I'm not going to be pissed off by idiots, essentially. Thank you for all the words of support, first of all. I'm going to continue making content on YouTube. I'm going to try and finish every single-player series. I keep cancelling single-player series because of YouTube's bullshit, like it not going to feeds or whatever, or non-monetization. From now on, like I started Emily is Away 2, and I started another game. Just ignore them recently. I'm going to finish every single-player game that I start. Unless there's a technical problem, I'm going to finish the game. I'm going to try my best to upload the whole single-player thing and do it in a relatively good time so you guys don't have to wait around for all the parts. That's something I'm going to start doing. It's something I think is important and I need to be more consistent on. I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep uploading multiplayer content. More Forest is coming, guys. I know a lot of you asked about the Forest. Next few days, a bunch of Forest stuff, a ton of it. You'll see like 5 videos of the Forest. I'm not kidding. It'll be great. So hopefully you guys will enjoy the Forest as it comes out. More golf, more Uno, more all the things that you like on this channel are going to be coming too. So stick around for those. I think it's going to be absolutely awesome. And I want to keep doing this, and regardless of the rules that YouTube are putting in here, I'm not going to censor myself or change the style of my content for them. I'm not. I feel a lot of you are here because I am different to other gaming channels, and I am a bit more edgier or whatever, however you want to say. I don't really like the word edgier, but whatever. I feel a lot of you are here because of that, and I'm not going to fucking back down. I'm going to be streaming more because it's a sensible thing to do, because Twitch, you know, isn't cunts to its content creators, but I am going to keep uploading here because there's a big group of you here, and I want to make content. I enjoy interacting with you guys. I enjoy seeing your response to the content and things like that. I'm not going to give that up, and I'm not going to censor myself. If you do want to support me, in these times and make things a bit easier for me. The Game Wisp is there. I'm not going to bang it home on every single video, but I will mention it a bit more because it really does help out a lot. So check out Game Wisp. It's exactly like Patreon. There's lots of rewards there. Please check them out and consider supporting me if you enjoy my content. Remember, the base tier, which is, I think, $3.99, the lowest tier there, gets you access to a private Let's Play once a month that you guys vote on. So it really is worth checking out if you enjoy my content, especially if you want me to be making content that isn't watered down, essentially. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy, guys. I'll see you really soon, and thanks for listening to me ramble for the last however long I've been talking. See you guys really soon, and thanks for being awesome. Bye for now. Bye for now.